Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you. So I think you have waited a bit long for this session because we didn't have our first session, that is AI data science, because of our mentor having some personal, in his family there was some death. Okay, so he could, therefore naturally he could not be joining. So we decided that we will continue with DevOps session in the scheduled time, not that we are going to replace it the in the time of AI data science, because all of our channels have already advertised this. Hello, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Okay. Actually, yeah. Okay. So fine. So as I was saying that I tried to keep the same time of DevOps as it is. But still we are not finding too many people. But anyway, today, because the other weekend as well, there were lots, a very small number of people, so we had to cancel it. But today, even if there is you are there is a lot less, but anyway, I will still have the session today. Any questions? Any questions that you have? Yeah, please. Yeah, please go ahead, unmute yourself and let me know.
Hello, good afternoon from Ghana.
Yes. You actually also joined during that earlier time, that
Yes,
is
yes.
during the AI data science session, and I told you that it was. I'm waiting because I just wanted to inform, if in case somebody joins, I will inform that the DevOps session will be starting in the scheduled time.
Yes.
So it is 3:30 p.m. right? Your time, Anna?
Yes.
Very good, very good.
Please, my question is, first of all, thank you so much for this program. I'm just
Okay.
starting out with DevOps. I'm actually currently pursuing AWS Cloud Engineering, but I'm very
Okay.
interested in DevOps. So, and I can see that
Okay.
we are already at day 8. Is it
Uh,
advisable to join today?
no, you see, this is a cycle. This is almost the fourth cycle that we are having with DevOps, cybersecurity, AI data science. Of course, there was a bit of gap, but with DevOps and cybersecurity, this is the fourth cycle, continuous. So you see, we are having 8 to 10 sessions of DevOps per cycle. Now we are today on the eighth session. Okay, we are going to start Azure DevOps. Fine, which is a CI/CD. But before that, we had already covered your introduction to DevOps, 2 sessions on cloud, AWS Cloud, 2 sessions on Terraform, 2 sessions on uh, your Ansible, and 1 session on Docker. Today, we are starting. There will be 2 consecutive sessions for, you know, uh, this weekend and the coming next weekend. It will be on Azure DevOps. And after that is completed, we will have 2 sessions on Kubernetes. That will end the fourth cycle of DevOps. Then there will be a gap of, say, another a few weeks, for a few weeks, 1 or 2 weeks. And again, the DevOps cycle will start from the very beginning. Are you getting me?
Yes, I get you. My question was that since I'm new to DevOps, will this particular class that we are having right now, will it help, or I should go back and watch the other videos before I join this class?
No, so don't worry. Since you have already joined this class, you continue, you will follow it. There is no, I mean, it's a new topic, Azure DevOps, which is a CI/CD pipeline. So follow this class, and I will request you to go into our YouTube recordings, and you will get all the previous videos as well. And again, remember, after the few sessions, again, there will be another cycle of DevOps. So
Okay.
this will continue.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. What I will do is, since I do not think there will be any further more addition to the thing. So let's not worry about how many people are joining. Let us start. Is that fine with you? Oh, Ernst, Ernest, you were saying something?
Yeah, I think it's got to do with my the registration that I did on the platform. I don't know, like I seem to be having a backend issue because I don't know whether it went through or not, but it seems like it's still pending. I don't know if like it could be fixed on the backend side of things. Hello.
Yeah,
Are you being able to hear me?
yeah, yeah, we can hear you. Honest, what happened? Can you please explain a little bit more?
Let me just share my screen. Let me just share
Mm-hmm.
my screen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Share. Yeah, just 1 second. Just 1 second.
Actually, I have the power cut already at my place.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we will continue.
Okay. Yeah. So I think basically for me it's just this challenge that I have here, because when I registered for all the courses, I was able to register no problem. But I don't know what on the last platform that we had prior to this one. Usually this I don't know whether it means that it's still pending, but I was wondering if it could be assisted in this issue.
Okay, can you click any blue of those on?
Yeah, it does lead me to the courses, but I'm having it's pretty much different than the previous platform, so I wouldn't be too sure whether, like, when I attend to any of the courses and I mean the modules, it's whether it's complete or not. And I was trying to ask actually if there's also assessment on in this platform.
Hello,
Hello. Am I audible?
Ernst. Yeah, I can hear you. What about Mr. Menon?
I don't know if
So you are basically asking about if there is any that was with our old, you know. I
but
mean,
basically
let me.
I was just inquiring if my registration went through, because from this I'm not sure whether it went through, because when I click on ongoing, it's actually not really showing.
Okay.
But I think we can
This
discuss
is
it at a
this is the free sessions. You mean free sessions, right?
yes,
Or
yes, yes.
any paid free session?
Uh, 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 I'm not sure, because even the paid one is not, it didn't show that at the time. I think when we were doing those uh previous 2 cycles, I highlighted that I thought probably there was something that I missed out on. But we can have the discussion afterwards so that we don't delay the class.
Hello. Mr. Debasis, can you hear me? Or Ms. Ernest, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear it.
Okay. So there is a little bit issues.
Okay, yeah, we can have the discussion later so that we don't delay the class though.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, let me stop sharing.
Okay. As I was saying, there is a power cut at my place. Okay. So let me continue without the video, because with the video on, the signals, the broadband is not there. So it will not be, the network won't be that strong. So I will make the video off. I will simply carry on with the sharing of the screen with the audio on. Will that be fine? Okay. Mr. Menon, can I start the session today?
Hmm.
Though there is quite a less number of people.
Yeah, at least we can start at least 30-45 minutes because a few people join. So at least we can complete the theoretical part, if that's okay.
I didn't get you.
So at least we can start the few. We are not going to complete the whole one, but at least few of them. So few of them are like theoretical part. Not maybe not more 2 hours, but maybe 45 minutes or 1 hour. We can at least break
Okay.
down those
Okay.
the initial part. So the next time we can move forward. The next batch, the next Saturday we can move forward with the hands-on.
So let me start the recording. So the recording is on. I will start sharing the screen. Let me know if you can see the screen.
Yes, you can see it, sir.
So today we are going to start a new topic, in a very, very interesting topic, and actually the backbone of a DevOps lifecycle, which is called the CI/CD pipeline. Okay. Continuous integration, continuous delivery, continuous deployment pipeline. A pipeline which will help our application to be deployed onto a test server, onto development server, onto pre-production server, and finally onto our production server. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
very
you
well.
are.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Yes. So to do this, we have various tools available in the market, and one of the very famous, it was earlier very famous, was Jenkins. Okay, I hope most of you have heard the term or about the tool called Jenkins. Then Jenkins was very good, but Jenkins had to follow certain the script that Jenkins supported was not very popular. It didn't support most of the shell scripts, the shell, because most of our people who are good in DevOps, they are good in Linux and therefore good in shell. Okay, so if a tool does not support that particular, because most of the DevOps guys are not programmers, or not, they are not developers, so they don't have much of the idea of the scripting to scripting languages or programming languages. So they are proficient with the shell scripting, but Jenkins didn't support that much of shell scripting. It supports a lot of Groovy. Okay, and basically you have to write Groovy scripts. So the important thing is to understand Groovy, another language, another burden of another language that you need to learn in order to use Jenkins. Then came your GitLab, a very, very famous and very popular tool as well. So, but that GitLab has successfully replaced your Jenkins, because GitLab absolutely, the entire pipeline can be coded with shell script. No issues. You can write a lot of code. You can play around with lots of tools, integrate a lot of the tools, and it is like a warehouse where you can do each and everything. It's like a departmental store. You enter the store, you get from the smallest of the things to the largest of the things. So you get everything from the project initiation to the project delivery. Everything can be done through. It's like a Jira tool. It's having a CI/CD pipeline. It is having a repository. It can work as a GitHub. Everything can be done. It can work as a Docker hub to store your images and everything, whatever you say. So it is one in all, or all in one, better to say. You do not need to have Jira. A project management tool will already will be inbuilt like. But then came Microsoft with all its, expertise to replace GitLab. GitLab was very good, but Microsoft was one notch above. So which is the Azure DevOps CI/CD pipeline. And people are very, very, I mean, they were floored with the number of features and how easy it is to use Azure DevOps. Once you learn it, it has actually floored everything, every other tool. Jenkins is nowhere nearby. Even the GitLab is finding it very hard to compete with Azure DevOps. Okay, so we are going to, in these 2 sessions, we are trying to build up a bit of overview. What is this tool? What is this going to do? Okay. So just we will go through the few steps or the fundamentals of the tool, how to use it. Are you being able to see the entire screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Very good. So let me go slide by slide. What is Azure DevOps and what are the key features and services? So Azure DevOps is a CI/CD pipeline tool. It is not only that, it comprises of so many important things like the Azure boards. If you are very familiar with Jira tool is one of the project management tool to manage the project. So a project manager will sit on Jira tool and can monitor, can assign or delegate jobs or project functions to various team members, and also monitor track the progress of the various functions that are being what is the status of, whether it's a to-do status or whether it has progressed to the work in progress, or whether it is any bug that has been issued, it has found, so it is in a, or whether it is in a testing phase, or whether it's in a, it is resolved, the bug is resolved, or it has gone to completion. So from everything can be monitored. And here also, instead of using a separate tool called Jira, you can use Azure boards. Agile planning and work tracking. So what is DevOps? DevOps is implementation of your agile methodology of project delivery. Okay, so came the DevOps, and to have the entire planning and work tracking, you have inbuilt Azure boards. This is one function. This is one important module in the Azure DevOps. Then comes the Azure repos. Like you are very familiar with the GitHub, Git repositories. So, but Git repository is a third-party tool. You have to you have to connect as a service from Azure DevOps to store or to get access to all the development source code. Instead of accessing the GitHub, you can have the all the Git features over inside the Azure DevOps, which is called Azure Repos. Can you see this? Azure Repos. Then, so Git repositories for source control. Source control, that means you can directly write your pipeline code over in the Azure DevOps CI/CD pipelines, and the pipeline code can be directly stored in the Git repository if you have a service link. Or if you do not want to have a service link between the GitHub and the Azure DevOps, you can have your entire Git repository over in form of Azure repos. So your latency is a bit, so your process or the process within the pipeline will run faster if you have the Azure repository within the Azure DevOps in itself. You do not need to leave and go to connect with a service link to the other third-party tool. Not needed. But generally, as a DevOps guy, people generally do not use, because GitHub is quite, because most of the developers, you are a DevOps guy, but you have to work with your developers, right? And most of the developers are very, very convenient or conversant with GitHub, Git repositories. So they might not be aware of Azure repos. So don't worry. We will have a very, very fast and efficient service link between Azure DevOps and Git repository or GitHub. And the latency that I was talking about can be taken out because of the efficiency of that service link that provided through Azure DevOps. We will see that if time permits, we will see. I can give a demo, but I will not build it. But I can just show you a demo how things work in Azure DevOps. Okay, I will show you the Azure repos, but instead of Azure repos, we have used GitHub repositories. Then coming to Azure pipelines. Now this is the backbone. Why Azure DevOps is there in the market so popular is because of the CI/CD automation tool. CI/CD is the pipeline. This is the pipeline with which you are going to integrate other DevOps tools for integration, continuous integration, continuous delivery, continuous deployment, continuous feedback. Okay, so we will build the Azure pipelines through the tool called Azure DevOps. Azure test plans, Azure artifacts, like you have your package management, package management. So it is like when you release, we will have the release pipelines as well. Like these are Azure pipelines are mainly for the build pipelines. And the release pipelines are whatever you want to release it in the artifacts that you have built through that build pipeline can be stored in the Azure artifacts. This is a very, very useful part. Instead of JFrog, Nexus, these are called artifactories, very famous artifactories. But they, again, like the Git repositories, GitHub, they are external. Again, you have to have a service link to use Nexus or JFrog artifactory. So why don't you use the Azure artifacts which are built in within Azure DevOps? So what you do is just build whatever the build pipeline has done. All those artifacts can be stored in the artifactory in a format that is very, very much usable when you do the Azure release. Do the release. You are releasing it, you are deploying it. Okay, the final release or draft release. Any questions in the meantime? It should not be a one-way traffic, right? If you have any questions, please do not hesitate. because this is a very, very interesting topic. And if you want to become a DevOps engineer, okay, you cannot avoid learning. You cannot say that I know cloud, I know Linux very well, and I know maybe Terraform. Is that sufficient? No. You need to learn one of the CI/CD pipelines. And why don't you learn the most famous one, the most popular one, which is the Azure DevOps? Azure is from Microsoft. And with the Microsoft, Microsoft are they are visionaries. They know what is the market demand, what is the industry demanding, what are the facilities, what are the features that the industry demands. So you can rest assured on their maturity to understand the industry needs. And therefore, this is one of the tools that is one of the wonders, that has made automation in DevOps like very simple to implement. Though actually internally the architecture is very, very complex. But anyway, we will see that. So understanding understanding CI/CD, continuous integration. You might be knowing these terms are very important term. Continuous delivery, benefits of CI/CD. The practice of frequently merging your code changes, because see, your pipeline starts with merging of your code. So some developer has put in your developer has put in. So this is your developer who will be writing the code. And this is, let's say, the GitHub. So where is the source code? The developers are writing the source code, and they must be repositing it or storing it, or you can say there is some technology through which this is a version control tool, VCS tool, GitHub, which is the Git repository. Like we have said about that Azure repos. If you think of Azure repository, then it is the Azure repos. Azure repos is within the Azure DevOps tool, and this GitHub is external. So there will be a service link between Azure. So Azure pipeline. So this is Azure CI/CD pipeline. And from that pipeline, you will generate or create a service link. You do not need a service link for connecting Azure pipeline with the Azure repos, because it is within the tool, within the Azure DevOps tool. You do not need, but I'm talking about the GitHub. Okay, most of the developers are aware of or very familiar with GitHub. So what they do, they will store their source code over here. There is a lot of technology, and you must learn it. That is a part in our DevOps course as well, to learn Git and GitHub. So there is a way that you need to store. It is the pull and push mechanism. So you will push your source code onto this particular thing, and therefore there is a lot of version control. So all your history will be stored over there, and then your service link you will extract the code. That is called the integration. The code changes will be merged inside your pipeline. So you have to pull them, get them into this pipeline, because otherwise this is a third-party entity. Okay, you will not be able to interact with the developer, what they have developed. So this should be coming and merging, or rather integrating with the pipeline. So this is called integration. And this happens continuously. So what is that? Continuous integration. Anytime a developer puts in something into, so there is a branch, there is a concept of branch. So maybe you have designated a branch. Whenever a developer commits something, or rather there is a change. Commit means change. There is a change of something of the source code. That means the developer has put in the source code onto some designated branch of the GitHub. And you have designed the pipeline saying that if there is any sort of activity or any sort of commit onto this particular branch, let's say this is a master branch. The name is master branch. Okay. And you have designed it such a way that if there is any activity or any change registered onto the master branch, you will trigger the pipeline. What will you do? You will trigger the pipeline to integrate whatever the change is, the code, that means the code, into your pipeline. First of all, first thing. So you are doing a continuous integration. Is that part clear? This helps detect integration issues early and improves code quality. So while you have integrated, there can be in the pipeline, there can be, let's say this is a pipeline and you have implemented, or there is another tool called SonarQube. What is that tool? There can be any other tool, but the source code has come over here. You are subjecting this source code into this tool. What is this tool doing? Before you put it for any testing, further testing or build, you must check the code quality of the code. Whether the code follows some standard norms and all those things are basically, that is the need of that is the call. You cannot let a junk or a bad sort of code to go into your pre-production or for testing. So there will be a code quality check, but it is very simple. You have to integrate one more tool into the pipeline, and the source code which is coming through one integration of this GitHub will flow down to the SonarQube. SonarQube will have their some commands that you have implemented on the pipeline that will check the quality of the code. If the quality is not up to the mark because of the thresholds and some of the quality checks that it has to pass through, if it does not pass, it will get back this code. It will give it back to the developer through the pipeline. This is another pipe. This is the same pipeline. It will go and give the report back to the developer. The developer will make the necessary changes and again commit the change onto the GitHub. And once it has come to the branch, again this build will be triggered, or I mean the pipeline will be triggered. Once the pipeline will be triggered, this new set of code will be integrated. And once the pipeline is on the move, again it will go and subject it to the SonarQube, which is the code quality check. The process is a continuous process. Now, see, this is, it has said the code quality is up to the mark. It has passed the code validation checks. There are no code smells, no code vulnerabilities. Okay, I can pass it. So there is, it will pass it through. Then there is a build server or a build tool. So maybe there is a Maven, because if the code is in Java, you have Maven implemented in the path, in the pipeline. So this is a Maven, or can be JU. There can be so many sort of NPM. Then there is the NuGet for .NET Microsoft code. Okay, so there can be, say, let's say for Java, it is Maven. So Maven will try to build on the Java code. And if the build is successful, it will produce some artifacts. We were saying the Azure artifact Artifactory. So this artifacts will be stored. There is a mechanism. You will store in the Azure Artifactory. Azure Artifactory. This is like artifacts which will be picked up when you do the release, which is for the delivery. So the process of automatically deploying all the code changes to a testing, and this is the, say, let's say this is the test environment. Okay, you have to now, if the build is successful, you have to release it. That is called delivery. You will package it, release and package. Release, or better to say package it, to release it or to deliver it to the test server, because there will be a system integration testing. Are you getting me? So this is called CD. And this happens continuously. So the build server has build. So if the build is successful, it will be put into the Azure factory. And when you do the release pipeline after packaging it, it will be delivered to the. So this was up to this point, it was a build pipeline. Are you getting me? Build pipeline. Please let me know if you are not aware. Build pipeline. So it has been successfully built, then and stored it to the Azure Artifactory. Those artifacts will be put inside. The artifacts can be a jar file or a war file, if I'm talking about Java. Okay. So this jar or the war file is an artifact. This artifact will be packaged and released with the release pipeline to, and that is called the delivery, which is a continuous process and called continuous delivery. Is that part clear? Any question?
Yes, it's clear. No, it's clear, sir. It's clear.
Any questions? Ernst?
Yeah, I was just I typed it in the chat, but I'll simply just ask. But you've highlighted certain things that do answer what I was asking, part of it. But I was just curious in the sense that, is there any difference in the way that GitHub, Azure, the Azure repository and the AWS repository operate in the sense of when it comes to the pipeline in itself, other than the CSP itself, where they're just the same? It's just the difference of CSP.
This Azure, you were saying of AWS repository?
Yeah, is there any
or
difference?
GitHub?
Yeah, in them. No, as in, is there any difference between Azure repositories and AWS repositories other than the CSP itself, where they're just the same thing, just a difference of CSP?
Azure repos is just like a GitHub repository. It is a version control tool.
Okay.
Like the version control tool called GitHub. It is exactly the same implementation of GitHub inside the Azure DevOps. Okay.
Also,
this is a pipeline. This is a tool. This is also a tool, but within the same package called Azure DevOps. As we have seen, there are 4 packages: Azure repos, Azure CI/CD pipeline, then Azure what is that? Azure Artifactory. Okay. Similarly,
yeah, okay.
Is this, but AWS repository is a AWS. You are talking about the S3 bucket. It's a very good question. You may say, but S3 bucket is not exact, though it has a versioning enabled, but this cannot serve as a replacement of GitHub or Azure repos. they are actually a version control tool. This S3 bucket of AWS is not exactly a version control tool. This is a static, storage area of AWS. This does not serve the purpose of a version control tool. So we cannot have a service link with the Azure CI/CD and to the S3 bucket. If there is any service link, that is only for storage of your source code, but there is no versioning enabled. So it will be better suggestion to go for a service link with GitHub or Bitbucket, but not with S3 bucket. Did I answer your question somewhat?
Yes, so somewhat. Okay, going back to the pipeline on display. So does it mean that after we create the build pipeline, and if it passes all the checks, do we then create a separate pipeline that will be a
Yes,
continuation of that,
yes,
or
correct,
okay,
correct. As I told you, up to this build, until you put all this into Azure Factory, Artifactory, this is called a build pipeline. And this is the source input for a release pipeline. So a release pipeline you will create to automatically pick up, because that is much more easier to manually go and grab the artifacts or the build deliverables from here. So what Azure DevOps has done, they have given a separate called release pipeline. That makes our life easier to easily pick up from this Azure Factory whatever you need, because it is already in a package format, and you just pick it up and deliver it with some sort of filtration, some conditions, trigger points. So there is the release thing that we can understand, but when we learn it in quite details. But anyway, what my object is to use the release pipeline. We will create a release pipeline to easily pick up from the artifacts, all the artifacts like the jar or the var or which has come out of npm. Okay, or the Python, the Py and Pies, and therefore we can, because they can maybe a single file or a group of files, whatever the way it has been designed and put in the Azure Factory will help the release pipeline to pick up all that is needed. It knows how to pick it up and deliver it to the destination, whether it's a test server or a pre-production server or a pre-production server, or it can be a finally. So there is the advantage of release pipeline is because there are approval stages. I cannot simply pick it up and without testing, I can directly put it into the production. No, never. So I will test it. There is an approval process. There is a lot of approval process that is also handled by the release pipeline. That is the magic. That is the beauty. So everything you can code through simple shell scripts. That is the beauty. Shell scripts, other than shell scripts, you do not need to learn any other. You do not need to learn Python scripts, not Python programming, Python scripts. They are different. You do not need to learn Groovy, Go. You do not need to learn all this part. You just simply using shell scripts in a better way. If you are good in shell scripts, you are more than good to use the build, the release pipelines. Is that fine?
Yes, it's fine. One more question. Oh, you removed. Does it mean that
Okay.
the release pipeline will actually integrate into the build pipeline by picking up those the artifacts that the build pipeline was actually developing, or it'll have to start its own process? That's actually what I was asking, but you've answered it.
Yes, a good question. The build pipeline will take care of what are the artifacts after the build has been done correctly. Okay, those artifacts will be automatically. There is a structure of those that artifactory. It's actually these are folders, and this jar will be available into, if you have done Maven. So you can rest assured that this jar or this var is available in a target folder. And do you need to worry about this? No, the release pipeline knows about the build. Okay, the build will give an instruction to the release pipeline to pick up the jar file from the target folder. So there is a structure. There is a structure. Okay, this structure is a well-known structure for Artifactory. So you can use JFrog. You can use Nexus. But no need if you are using the Azure Artifactory, which is coming in built within the Azure DevOps. Why do you need to go anywhere outside? It is quite simple. And so the release pipeline will automatically know what are the artifacts that needs to be picked up and delivered. And once you deliver, you start the test, whatever the test integration. So the testing part is also there. So all this can be automated. The benefits of CI/CD is always to accelerate the delivery times, improve code quality, reduced manual errors. So because you have filtered you have taken care of all the errors that may happen in the build, in the integration, okay, in the code quality, all these things are already being picked up by you. So it will be consistent, reliable releases and faster feedback loops. No, everywhere you will have a feedback. So if you have not approved it because of something that you have found in the testing, the release pipeline will take you back to the developer, to the development team. You do not need to come out of this particular pipeline at all in this entire journey. So Azure pipeline overview will be like you start from the base of the pyramid. Okay, your ultimate goal is to do a automated deployment. So you start from the source control, which is the version management, like from the GitHub or Azure repos. Then give the source code for building. You see the hammer. You are compiling and packaging. That is a part of the build. Then the build is complete with the correct artifacts. You give those artifacts for delivery for testing, automated validation. Once the testing is done and approved and passed, it will be then ready for the deployment, automated release to the environments. It can be a pre-production environment or a production environment. Depends on which environment you want to release. But it's always better before you go to the production, you always do the deployment to the pre-production, because in pre-production, what happens? Can anybody tell me? So here in the testing, you are doing basically a SIT, system integration testing. This is internal, that is the the testing team of the vendor. But here, when you do a deployment to a pre-production, you need a deployment to the pre-production. What will happen here? You do it for a purpose. It is for the UAT. And who will do the UAT? It is the client. Ultimately, the client has to be satisfied. The client will say, yes, I'm happy with this. So user acceptance testing. The user is accepting. User is accepting your product. This is a very, very critical testing, more important than SIT. SIT, of course, these are all functional, regressional, security level testing. So all those things, non-functional, all testing will happen over here. Load testing, stress testing. But here it is something absolutely different from SIT. Your product will be seen from the lens of the client. The client is a different ball game. They can easily pick up some defect which your very, very experienced testing could not pick up. So we need to give this deployment for a UAT testing in a pre-production environment. Clear? But all these things are getting done automated. No manual intervention anywhere. Starting from the triggering of the pipeline, whenever there is some source code commit into the pipeline, into the GitHub or Azure repos. Any question? You have to set up your Azure DevOps environment. You have to first of all create a Microsoft account. Without a Microsoft account, you will not be. Basically, you have to sign up for your Azure portal. For you need to have an account on your Azure portal. Azure portal is nothing but what you can anybody tell me what is Azure portal? Azure is from Microsoft. With which you can compare Azure portal. Without having an account in the Azure portal, you will not be able to use Azure DevOps. So Azure DevOps is a subset of Azure. And Azure is nothing but a cloud platform like AWS. Amazon Web Services is also a cloud platform, a provider. So basically you are having a cloud account of Azure or Microsoft. That is the first part. You have to create a Azure DevOps. So next weekend, I will show you a demo on the tool, which is Azure DevOps. That today it is just the foundation of your overview of your theoretical background. So then you create, everything comes from the organization. See, Microsoft is very finicky about all this part. They have a particular structure to follow. You cannot simply start working with a project. A project will come under organization. So you have to create your Azure DevOps organization. From organization comes project. And then in the project, you will have your pipelines, whatever, all the various tools of Azure DevOps. Start from I will show you on the next weekend. So you have to configure the organization settings, whether you need only a build pipeline or you want a release pipeline as well. So all these settings can be done through this organization object that you have done over here. And then under the organization, you create a new project. That is your starting point. See, this is you are setting up your environment. You cannot work with it is like a project. It is you are doing the entire DevOps project or a software development lifecycle, SDLC. You are doing through. So entire thing, whether you are starting from planning, which is initiation or ideation to delivery of the project, which is called ideation to implementation. These are the terms that people will talk in these terms when you are attending a meeting in your organization, which is projecticized, which is using DevOps in their software development lifecycle. You will see ideation. They are not saying planning. They are not saying delivery. They are saying implementation. Okay, so from ideation to implementation, every stage can be handled with Azure DevOps. I mean the tool. So I don't think I need to go through YAML. YAML, I've already have discussed YAML in details. I think in Ansible, in the Ansible sessions. So it is just YAML is a format with which you will write your pipeline. Okay, YAML is nothing but it follows the JSON format of data. So when you are saying YAML, basically you are saying I'm writing the data in form of key colon value pair. What is key? Key is a variable. What is value? Value is the data. So the data is stored in the memory variable and you refer to this value through the key. So that is how you write JSON within the YAML structure. YAML is very, very finicky about indentation. You have to be very correct in this. So why we say we need to learn YAML or we need to use YAML, because Azure pipelines work with YAML. Okay. Now, what is the pipeline structure? I'm just focusing on one tool of Azure DevOps. What is that? Anybody? Are we focusing on Azure repos? Are we focusing on Azure repository? Are we focusing on Azure testing? No. We are focusing on one very, or are we focusing on Azure boards like the Jira boards? No. The core tool of the entire Azure DevOps suite of tools is the pipeline, the CI/CD pipeline. If you know Azure repos, you know Azure Artifactory, you know Azure boards, but you do not know Azure pipeline, CI/CD pipeline, then that means you do not know Azure DevOps. So, but if you know only Azure pipeline, people will say that, yes, in the interview, you can say, yes, I am very, very confident using Azure DevOps. I do not need to learn Azure repos because there is a substitute in the market. There is Git repository to replace Azure repos. There is Nexus, JFrog to replace your Azure Artifactory. There is Jira to replace your Azure boards. But there is no one to replace your, if you are using Azure DevOps, that means you need to know Azure pipeline. So unlike the pyramid of source control and up to the delivery, we'll start from here, from the pyramid top and go towards the base, bottom. So the first thing, the pipeline has to be triggered. Okay. Define when the pipeline should run automatically. This is a very, very vital. This is the starting point. Unless and until you trigger a pipeline, the pipeline will not do anything. So what was the trigger point? Can anybody remember that we have discussed just some time back? The developer is putting some code, committing some changes into the repository, or it can be a GitHub repository, and then in a particular branch which was pipeline. This is a pipeline code. You are writing a code, shell script, and there in the very beginning you have said that whenever I will see some activity on a particular branch of this particular repository, I will trigger the pipeline. So this, you are writing a rule at this stage. So the pipeline has been triggered because of this some commit, some change activity from the developer on a particular branch of the GitHub. Okay, this rule will trigger the pipeline. And once the pipeline starts working, there are global variables, or you say pipeline variables. And there is the local variables. Local variables. Can anybody tell me what the difference between global and local variables? Local variables are job level. And these global variables are pipeline level. So what would be the difference? If anybody can help me. The difference is in the scope of use of the variables, memory variables. Okay, the global has a global scope. That means the variable can be used in inside any job at any point of time. And the variable can keep on changing the value that can be used in any other job. But because it is global, it has been defined at the pipeline level. But the local, which has been defined in a particular job, once the job ends, the scope of this local variable dies. You cannot use that particular local variable in another job. You cannot do that because once it has come out of that job, the scope is gone. That is the difference. Now, you have to organize it in stages. So you can say that code validation stage. Code validation is one stage. Then code build is one stage. Then code release or code package. You are packaging it and releasing it is one stage. Then you say code release is another stage. So these are the stages with which you organize your activity, your pipeline. And within each stage, you can have, say, let's say this is the build stage. Just 1 minute. Just give me 1 minute. Hello? Hello? बोलो.
Mic on off.
শেষ করে দেবো. এই just এসছে. হ্যাঁ, এটা শেষ করি. ওকে, কখন হবে এটা? ওকে, ওকে, ঠিক, ঠিক, ওকে. Sorry guys, I have to go into one more meeting, so I will not take much more time. another say 10-15 minutes. Is that fine for you? Is that fine? So you have the build stage. Build is a stage, and you can now define within this build stage multiple jobs, single job or multiple jobs. Say job 1, job 2. Are you being able to hear me?
Yeah.
Anyone there in the meeting? Or everyone has gone?
Yeah, audible, audible.
Yes, we can hear you.
Audible, sir.
So
Yes, sir, we can hear
sorry,
you.
are you being able to hear me? Nobody able to hear me?
Yeah, Mr. Debasis, we can hear you.
Can, sir.
Hello,
Hi.
Hello,
We can
we
hear
can
you.
hear you.
hello.
You're audible.
Need to chat him.
Are you being able to hear me?
We can hear
Yes.
you.
Yes,
Yes,
we
sir.
can hear you.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello,
Uh,
we can hear you.
I'm not being able to hear you. So there is some because of that phone. I will just leave and come back.
Sorry, Mr. Debasis, for
Is that fine?
call you. Yeah. Sorry, everyone. I interrupt the process. I had to call him.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So I will just quickly try to wind up today. Another 2 or 3 slides. That's all. So yeah, it is still there. So you see, within the stage, I can have one job or I can have multiple jobs. What are jobs? Group related steps that run on an agent. So agent is something which runs the pipeline. This is a good concept, but it is difficult for me to just tell you right now what is an agent. Agent is, let's say, a server designated by
Hello.
Microsoft or hello.
Sorry, sir, I can't see your screen.
Oh, just 1 minute, just 1 minute. Sorry. Yeah, I didn't share it. Sorry.
I can see it now. Thank you.
Can you see it now?
Yes, thank
You
you.
can't see it? Okay. So what I'm saying is the build has multiple jobs or maybe one job. What are the jobs? The jobs are group related steps. Hello, Guru, I'm in a meeting. Can I call you after the meeting? Please, huh? Okay. So sorry for these interruptions. What I'm saying is I'm not being able to come out of these jobs. The jobs are nothing but you have grouped some activity within the jobs. You are doing something, as the name suggests. It is a job that you are doing some activity within the pipeline, within the stage. Okay. So build is a stage. Build is a stage, and this is a job. So a job is a group of related steps that run on an agent. Agent is like a server given by Microsoft. Given by Microsoft. Microsoft is saying that please run your job within my server. There is a particular knowledge behind that. We cannot discuss that. It is out of scope. But remember that Microsoft has given you this shared agent. Okay, you can create your own agent or you can use the Microsoft provided agent to run your jobs, because a job needs some processing speed, power, so many things, memory. That will be provided by this server with the agents, with the agent running. Agent is nothing but some backend process which will help to run the job within the pipeline. And what the job does is job will be split up into tasks called steps. So steps are nothing but tasks, actual physical tangible activity. You are grouping those tasks inside the job. A similar set of job, that is, you are picking up some file, you are writing into that file and dispatching to the file in a group of activity called the job, and those individual steps are called tasks, right? Individual tasks or scripts to execute. Now here you write the shell script. The rest is nothing but the given parameters or given keywords of the Azure pipeline. Any question? So you start to trigger the pipeline, you define the variables, you define the stages, and within the stages you declare the jobs, and within the job you actually do the activity through the steps. So trigger, variables, stages, job, steps. Will you remember this? So like we have said that you create a new pipeline. This is the plus. Plus means you want to create a pipeline. I will show you the next weekend. And then you select the repository with which you want to work, whether it's an Azure repos or what can be the options you have. The repository can be from Azure called Azure repos, which is inbuilt. Okay, maybe your developer has put all your code into the Azure repos. What is the alternative? Some external agent that you can use instead of Azure repos.
GitHub.
Where your developers store their code. It's called GitHub. Okay, either you go for this or this anyway. So you select the repository, then you configure your pipeline, select a starter template. That means a template in which you are going to code your pipeline. You do all this editing inside the YAML file, because YAML file is needed to write a pipeline, and then you save and run the pipeline. These are the steps that you follow to complete your pipeline. Clear? No questions? And today we will end with this slide. Though I targeted to complete 20, but since I have an emergency call with one of my clients, so I have to cut it short. Will that be fine with you? So today I will end over here saying that you have to define your build triggers. So as I told you that the first step that you do is to trigger the pipeline. There are three types of triggers that you can do. Okay, the most popular one, can anybody tell me which one will be the most popular, that is easily comprehensible? Generally, when you write trigger, you do not initially start with the schedule triggers or pull request triggers. You always do the branch triggers. That means your developer has put the source code where? Into some repository. It could be a GitHub repository. It could be your Azure repos. Let's say you have this Azure repository, the code, and in a particular branch. And you have designated that branch to be your trigger point, or something, some changes have been happening into this branch. That means there is a new code change, new change that has happened in this particular branch. There can be hundreds of branches, but you have designated this branch as your merged branch. Whenever a developer would like to get something to be tested, to be built, to be all these things, so it will put it into this branch, merge it into this branch. And once this branch, which is the trigger branch, comes, you will write a YAML code like this. Okay. So I will not, by default, what you say, you give this keyword trigger. See, this is the key. This is the JSON way of writing key. And within this, there is a sub key called branch. Okay, branches. And then I don't want to go into all these things. I don't have multiple branches for trigger points. I have only one branch. So let's say I mention the value over here. Say I'm saying that whichever thing comes into the master thing, so the keyword is trigger, you trigger the pipeline. That's all. I will write three things: trigger, branches, master. If it is instead of master, it is main, you write it. So anything coming, any code which is coming to this main branch, it will trigger the pipeline. So I will not do the pull request trigger or the schedule triggers. Schedule triggers, you know that these are the cron jobs. Cron jobs are very famous when you are working in a big organization where there are lots of or huge batch processing jobs, batch jobs. And those in a particular time in the night, let's say 12 a.m. in the midnight, you will trigger this batch job through cron. So cron means some at particular time of the night, you are, so the daily midnight build 00 hours. Okay, so you say define the cron, but these are not important. This is very, very important thing. That means you just mentioned the branch, which is your trigger branch. Today, I will end over here. I will expect that I don't know if you have any questions, please. Can you let me know? I know I had to cut it short, but don't worry. If we could not complete it in the next weekend as well, we will take another weekend. It's all in our hands. Don't worry. Any question? There are lots of slides. Don't worry, we will go through each and every one of them, and we will also have a bit of a demo such that you get to know actually whatever we have discussed, actually we can see them. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We will end the session over here today. We will continue the discussion next Saturday. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, sir.
Thank you. So, Mr. Menon. Hello. Hello.
I think it's not there. It's me, Mr. Debasis.
I've stopped the recording. So, Mr. Menon.
Hey, hi. Hello. 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 Hello.
Hello, Mr. Menon. Are you there?
Yeah, I am here. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
hear you.
Hello, Mr. Menon. Are you there?
Yes.
I will leave the session now.
Yeah.
I will go and join the
Please send me a
other
link.
meeting.
Yeah, please send me, create a link and send it to me.
Hello.
কি হয়েছে বলুন তো আজকে আপনার?
Mr. Menon আছেন?